Hello and welcome to NTD News Today. Kevin Hogan here. Let's take a look at our top stories. Holiday travelers facing long delays as travel disruptions ground U.S. flights, but a new CDC update could help ease some of the staffing shortages at airlines. As cases surge in New York State, residents of New York City line up for their shots. It comes as new vaccination rules take effect in the city, and state officials urge parents to vaccinate their children. And we dive into Representative Ilhan Omar's bill, combating Islamophobia. Is it a noble cause to protect Muslims' freedom to practice their religion, or part of a political agenda to stifle free speech and shield terrorists? Los Angeles police released 911 calls and body cam footage of the events leading up to a fatal shooting that happened last week. U.S. Airlines canceled over 1,400 flights yesterday after grounding thousands of flights over the Christmas holiday weekend. These flights were hobbled by staff shortages brought about by COVID-19 infections and bad weather in parts of the country. NTD's Jessica Beatty has more.
Passengers stranded at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport Monday had harrowing tales of long delays. 18-year-old Aisling Daniel is trying to return home to Anchorage, Alaska with her younger sister and 2 black labs.
We finally just had to book the hotel ourselves, but we figured out that the shuttles and taxis and the Ubers weren't really out on the roads at all, so we decided to just kind of call it a day and spend the night at the airport.
More than 90 flight arrivals at this airport were canceled, partly due to snowy weather in the Pacific Northwest. Lisa Senna is trying to get to Hawaii with her family. They missed their connection and spent the night at a hotel in Seattle after waiting for 2 hours in 20-degree weather for a taxi.
And this morning, we got another Uber driver to bring us back to the airport, who told us that he had never driven in the snow before. He was originally from Somalia, and so he watched a 1-hour YouTube video on how to drive in the snow before he picked us up. And now we are waiting here.
As of Tuesday morning, U.S. flight cancellations were about half of what they were Monday. Meanwhile, the CDC has shortened the recommended isolation time for people who test positive for COVID-19. On Monday, the agency reduced its recommendation from 10 days to 5, but only if you're not having symptoms and you wear a mask for an additional 5 days. White House Chief Medical Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci agrees with the update.
If you have symptoms, you should not be out. But if you are asymptomatic and you are infected, we want to get people back to the jobs, particularly those with essential jobs, to keep our society running smoothly. So I think that was a very prudent and good choice on the part of the CDC.
The CDC says the change is motivated by science that shows that transmission usually occurs in the first few days before and after symptoms appear. And President Biden on Monday ordered that Health and Human Services use FEMA funding to help with COVID testing. HHS must use these funds to create and run testing sites with state and local health departments. Jessica Beatty, NTD News.
The surge of the Omicron variant is intensifying in New York, and people are lining up to get tested. As COVID cases spike, Apple has closed its stores in New York City. Mayor Bill de Blasio's mandate for private businesses went into effect Monday. He has said that the employees of 184,000 businesses must now submit proof of vaccination. New York City's expanded vaccine mandate is the strictest in the nation. The mandate requires private businesses to ban unvaccinated employees from the workplace. Businesses that do not comply could be fined $1,000 or more, but the outgoing mayor said that that would be a last resort. As for indoor venues, any resident of the city who's 12 years old or older must have the vaccine in order to go to restaurants, movies, or the gym. And children 5 to 11 must have at least 1 dose to go to restaurants or take part in extracurricular activities at school. As the new business mandate took effect, New Yorkers lined up to be tested.
Why is it important to test? I mean, I guess because you want to keep your family safe and yourself safe. You basically want to keep your community safe. You want to keep yourself free from all the stuff that might happen to your body and anybody else that you know. Love and concern, you know what I mean? Respect. I work with other people in a truck, and basically if I don't want them to have to bring stuff home to their own family, I would keep myself tested and make sure I keep myself clean and keep them safe. Always important.
And in regards to children, the New York State Department of Health issued a warning Friday. It's about a 4-fold increase in the number of children being admitted to the hospital in and around New York City. It coincides with the rapid spread of the contagious Omicron variant. As a result, the health department is calling on parents to vaccinate their children.
Vaccination coverage remains too low, and that's the second reason that we released these data, to alert people to the fact that we need to get child vaccinations up. We need to get them higher than they are, particularly in the 5 to 11-year-old age group, and pediatricians can play a role in this.
The health commissioner said children can be infected and some will be hospitalized. Yet according to the Mayo Clinic, children don't get as sick as often as adults do, and most children infected with COVID-19 have mild or no symptoms. Nevertheless, the weekly average of child hospitalizations have increased about 85% since early December. And on the retail front, Apple has closed all 12 of its stores in New York City amid the Omicron surge. Patrons can no longer browse for items inside, though a spokesperson said customers can still pick up their online orders at those stores. The company said it is regularly monitoring the situation and that it will adjust health measures and services to keep employees and customers safe. Monday, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention released new data on the nation's vaccination efforts. About 66 million people have gotten a booster shot. That's nearly a third of the fully vaccinated population in the U.S. 61.8% of the country's population is fully vaccinated. That's people of all ages, more than 205 million in total. 22.4% of the eligible population, which is everyone 5 and up, hasn't been vaccinated against COVID-19. Currently, more than 1 million vaccine doses are being given every day. Tragedy struck California Monday night. A small plane crashed in a residential area near San Diego. Police say firefighters have found no survivors.
The accident occurred around 7 p.m. local time near El Cajon, at least 15 miles east of San Diego. First responders were immediately called to the scene, along with the local fire department, police, and the California Highway Patrol. San Diego County Sheriff's Department said in a news release that firefighters were unable to find any survivors, without specifying the number of victims. The aircraft is reportedly a Learjet 35A flying out of John Wayne Airport in Orange County. No one was confirmed injured on the ground, but the crash reportedly damaged at least one house, as well as knocking down power lines. According to the San Diego Gas and Electric, more than 2,500 customers were affected. The company has since worked to restore power to some areas. Videos of the accident on social media showed a large amount of smoke being generated. One witness described seeing lightning-like explosions in the sky twice, saying it was like a movie. The Federal Aviation Administration and the National Transportation Safety Board are currently investigating the crash.
A lone gunman shot 4 people to death and wounded 3 others, including a police officer. The Denver area shooting spree unfolded at various locations and ended with the suspect dead. Eyewitness video shows police conducting a search in a nearby neighborhood just after the suspect was killed. The rampage began around 5 p.m. Monday. Authorities say the gunman shot and killed 2 women and wounded a man near downtown Denver. The gunman then drove into the neighboring city of Lakewood, where he shot and killed a 4th person inside a business. He then entered a local hotel and shot and wounded a clerk and a police officer. A police spokesman says authorities are still unsure whether the suspect's death was a result of police action or not. The alleged gunman has not yet been publicly identified. A fatal shooting occurred last Thursday in Los Angeles, California. Tuesday afternoon, Los Angeles police released an update and body cam footage of the events leading up to the incident. NTD's Cynthia Kai brings us more, and just a warning, some of the following footage may be disturbing to some viewers.
Los Angeles police have released detailed updates, including 911 calls, CCTV, and body camera footage of a police-involved shooting that occurred at a Burlington store in the North Hollywood area of Los Angeles last Thursday.
While en route to the location, the officers received multiple radio calls from the same location that there was a possible shooting in progress, and there were individuals sheltering in place.
Hi, yes, can you send a unit to Burlington and North Hollywood, please? There's a guy with a gun.
You're where, Burlington and what?
North Hollywood, please.
Another caller said the suspect was hitting people with a bike lock.
He's using one of those bike locks.
To hit people?
That's you, get out!
Police say CCTV footage showed the suspect attacking several people, striking one with a bike lock prior to police arrival.
The suspect approached that female from behind and struck her over the head with the bike lock. That female crawled away and the suspect grabbed her and dragged her near the dressing room and continued to beat her with the lock.
Upon arriving, LAPD officers were directed upstairs to where the suspect had attacked the female victim.
Officers located a female who was suffering from various injuries and bleeding. They encountered the suspect a short distance away, and an officer-involved shooting occurred. The suspect was struck by gunfire and taken into custody.
Paramedics determined the suspect dead at scene. On Friday, the coroner's office identified the suspect as 24-year-old Daniel Elena Lopez, who has a long criminal history.
Unbeknownst to the officers, a 14-year-old girl was in the changing room behind a wall that was behind the suspect and out of the officer's view.
The teenager was in a dressing room with her mother when a stray bullet went through the drywall, striking and killing her. On Friday, the coroner's office identified her as Valentina Orellana Peralta. Officers found her after seeing a hole in the wall when searching for additional suspects or victims. Police recovered the bike lock Lopez used to attack people. No other weapons have been found. In the coming months, LAPD will work with the California Department of Justice to continue the investigation to determine if the deadly use of force was justified. Cynthia Kai, NTD News, California.
A 14-year-old is in custody after a convenience store shooting in Texas that left 3 teenagers dead and another in critical condition. Garland police released surveillance video of the suspect entering the store Sunday night with a .40 caliber pistol.
The gun used in this incident was a .40 caliber pistol. It had an extended magazine. We know he fired at least 20 rounds because we found the shell casings.
Investigators allege the suspect killed 3 teens between the ages of 14 and 16. Police are looking for a second person who left the scene in a white truck seen in a surveillance video. The motive for the crime is not clear yet. There was no robbery, and it isn't known if the shooter knew his victims. A Colorado prosecutor went to court in a rare move to seek a reduced prison term for a truck driver the prosecutor helped convict. The driver was sentenced to 110 years for a crash that killed 4 people. The Jefferson County District Attorney is asking a judge to resentence Rohel Lazaro Aguilera Medeiros to a prison term in the 20 to 30-year range. The truck driver was found guilty in October on 4 homicide charges and multiple counts of assault and reckless driving from the April 2019 crash. The judge said he would not have handed down a 110-year sentence if not for mandatory minimum penalties required under state law. At sentencing, Aguilera Medeiros wept as he asked for forgiveness and leniency. Prosecutors never alleged that he was impaired or had any criminal intent. The case garnered national attention. Nearly 5 million people signed an online petition calling for a lighter punishment. A jury in the sex trafficking trial of Ghislaine Maxwell completed 3 full days of deliberations without a sign that a verdict is near, despite making multiple requests for information. On Monday, the jury requested multicolored sticky notes, a whiteboard, and some trial transcripts, including testimony from the former boyfriend of one of the alleged victims. The jury also requested local definitions and clarifications. The judge, jury, and legal teams went back and forth trying to answer the jury's questions. At the end of the day, the judge instructed the jury that if they didn't reach a verdict on Tuesday, that they should be ready to work until 6 p.m. each night from now on, unless there proves to be hardship. The British socialite is charged with grooming teenagers as young as 14 to be sexually assaulted by financier Jeffrey Epstein. Combat legend Richard Marcinko, the man who created SEAL Team 6, died on Saturday. Marcinko's son and the National Navy SEAL Museum announced the news. SEAL Team 6 is considered by many to be the U.S. military's most elite covert special operations unit. The unit is perhaps best known for carrying out the operation that killed Osama bin Laden in Pakistan in 2011. Marcinko, a Vietnam War combat veteran, formed SEAL Team 6 in 1980 after the failed hostage rescue attempt in Iran. He was the unit's first commanding officer. He retired in 1989 and pursued a career as an author, public speaker, and consultant. According to the New York Times, Marcinko's son, Matthew, said his father's cause of death is believed to be a heart attack. He was 81 years old. An Arctic blast has sunk Seattle area to below freezing temperatures, and a warming shelter operator says the CCP virus is creating problems with keeping people warm.
This is not a short event. This is going to take a while, and the longer it goes on, the harder it's going to be on people that don't have a place to get out of this. So,
Hughes said his warming center can welcome only about a dozen people because of the staff shortage. He says he's looking at being open for around 10 days with this cold front. He says the last long stretch the center operated was only 3 days. Emergency warming shelters were opened throughout western Washington and Oregon as temperatures plunged into the teens. Sunday's snow showers blew into the Pacific Northwest from the Gulf of Alaska. They dumped up to 6 inches of snow across the Seattle area. Frigid temperatures in the region could tie or break records in the coming days. Deer Valley Ski Patrol evacuated skiers from the Carpenter Express chairlift. The rescue occurred after a mechanical failure on Christmas Eve at Deer Valley Resort in Utah. A video shows a rescue operation with a skier sliding down a rope from a chairlift to the applause of observers. According to local media, 167 skiers were pulled off the broken ski lift. Now we take a closer look at a bill proposed by Representative Ilhan Omar. The bill aims to tackle Islamophobia around the globe, and it passed the House recently. Some see this bill as a noble cause, as it seeks to protect the rights of Muslims by gathering information about acts of violence, propaganda, and harassment directed at them. Yet a non-practicing Muslim, Dalia Al-Aqidi, sees the bill as a threat to free speech. Al-Aqidi is a senior fellow at the Center for Security Policy, and she questions the bill's vague language and claims it will silence Americans who speak out against terrorist organizations such as Hamas and Hezbollah.
Given the fact that even in the bill, there is no clear definition of what Islamophobia is. If you look at it, it's really a noble bill that you can pretend to defend all Muslims around the world. But when you look at it, it's basically, you don't know what Islamophobia is. You don't know what you're being accused of. Is it, let's say, criticizing Hamas or calling it a terrorist organization? Does it fall under the Islamophobia? What about Hezbollah? What about Iran? What about Turkey? What about the people that are oppressed by these Islamist governments, such as Iran and Turkey and other areas? So that's the problem. It's silencing every voice, regardless of where that voice is coming from. It's very dangerous. It's an abuse of the freedom of speech and freedom of religion in the United States and in the West in general.
So when we look into the text of the bill, it seeks to gather information on forced labor and the presence of concentration camps, like those targeting Muslim Uyghurs in China's Xinjiang region. So wouldn't you say this is a good thing?
This is a great thing. You don't need a bill to do that. Look, if you do your research, or if your viewers do the research, who welcomed this bill? The extremists, the governments of an extreme ideology. These are the government that would take advantage of this bill and take advantage of the laws in the United States of America to oppress their own people. Have we heard Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib or even Mr. Nihad Awad, the Secretary General of CARE, condemning the jihadists? Have we heard them condemning any suicide bombings? Have we heard them condemning what Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the Turkish president, have we heard them condemning him and the way he oppressed his people and oppressed the demonstrations in Turkey? Of course not. So that's why this bill fits only the people that this group of Islamists are supporting. That is the problem.
A vast network of charities and government organizations is helping to resettle Afghan refugees in the United States. Among them is the Tuberculosis and Refugee Clinic at Santa Clara Valley Medical Center, and most of its staff are immigrants themselves. Here are the details.
The small 30-person clinic was founded 40 years ago in San Jose, specifically to screen South Asian refugees after the Vietnam War. Today, it's part of the effort to resettle tens of thousands of people from Afghanistan. One of its visitors was Mohammed Atate and his wife, who fled Kabul this summer with their 10-year-old daughter.
The Taliban was about to come to the city, and I was very worried about our safety.
Health Center Manager Nelda David said Santa Clara County initially planned to take in only about 200 Afghan refugees, but that number has exceeded 800 this fiscal year. Yet she added most nurses, assistants, and other staff are eager to help as they knew firsthand the shock of starting over in a new country.
A huge majority of our staff were either immigrants or refugees themselves, and some of them have actually gone through their refugee health assessment process here in this very clinic.
Medical interpreter Yahanaz Afshar welcomes Farsi speakers at the front door, even before they check in for their first visit. Afshar moved from Iran in 2004. Now she's tasked with comforting other newcomers that are struggling with cultural differences.
They have huge amount of transferable skills. They're going to be able to help our community and our society definitely later on. But at the beginning, we need to help them to stand on their feet.
At the clinic, Afshar hopped on the phone to schedule an eye exam for Mohammed and his wife. The couple was worried they wouldn't be able to find work due to the language barrier. But still, seeing another immigrant like Afshar gave them confidence.
Coming up, we will look at gas prices. Gas Buddy predicts prices at the pump will rise next year and says OPEC and the pandemic are to blame. Find out more here on NTD News.
Secure, the true solution for your digital privacy and security. Secure is a private and secure messaging and email solution hosted in Switzerland, using military-grade encryption and Swiss privacy laws, giving you true privacy. Secure is 100% private and does not collect or sell any of your personal data. Secure's Helix technology connects you securely to our Swiss servers without the need of a VPN, guaranteeing privacy and security for all your communications. Secure Messenger doesn't require your phone number or any personal data that hackers target. Chat by Invites allows you to chat privately and securely with anyone outside of your secure network without the need for others to download Secure. Secure Send offers you a private and secure way to email anyone outside of Secure. You won't find this level of privacy or security on any other email or instant messaging application. Visit secure.com. Regain and protect your privacy today.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the CEO of MyPillow. Cancel culture has not only affected myself and MyPillow, but millions of you out there. My employees and I want to personally thank each and every one of you for all of your support. At MyPillow, we not only have pillows, but we have hundreds of products, including my new slippers, bathrobes, sleepwear, and my new beds. We're offering the best gifts ever for the best prices ever. For example, we have this exclusive offer on the standard size MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now only $19.98 with your promo code. We also have the queen size MyPillows, regularly $79.98, now only $24.98 with your promo code. And we have the king size, regularly $89.98, now only $29.98 with your promo code. So go to mypillow.com now and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below to receive this exclusive offer.
You've probably noticed gas is getting cheaper, but will that trend continue? Gas Buddy doesn't think so. The gas price tracking tech company is forecasting prices at the pump will go up next year. It's predicting the national average will rise to $3.41 a gallon from this year's average of $3.02. Gas Buddy believes prices will peak in May at an average of $3.79. The company is basing its forecast on low oil production from OPEC and refinery closures due to the CCP virus. It should be noted oil prices are extremely difficult to predict accurately. The federal government and many Wall Street analysts are forecasting they will continue to drop in 2022. Organizers prepared the traditional Waterford crystal ball that will drop over Times Square on New Year's Eve. As happens each year, the crystals were upgraded on the iconic ball.
We're here today replacing 192 of the Waterford crystal triangles on that ball behind me with a new design, the Gift of Wisdom. It's represented by a wheel with these petals of knowledge growing ever forward. Every year we change 192 of these triangles, creating a patchwork of hopes and dreams on the ball.
For the second year in a row, New Year's Eve in Times Square will be a scaled-back event as a result of the pandemic. The total number of attendees will be capped at 15,000. There's usually about 60,000 revelers in Times Square, but 1 billion people are expected to join the ball drop via internet and TV from around the world. Just because Christmas is over doesn't mean the shopping is. NTD's Phil Zoe went to one of the newest and most luxurious shopping centers in the U.S. to find out more.
The shops at Hudson Yards were packed on Monday. It's one of the newest shopping centers in New York City, with a mix of over 100 luxury brands and restaurants.
It feels amazing.
Some shoppers are looking for after-Christmas deals like couple David and Petra that I spoke with.
Yeah, so we were just scoping out, seeing if there were any after-Christmas deals, looking for some running shoes for her.
Maybe I can get some new things here, and also shoes are cheaper here, things are cheaper here, some kind of clothes, so I was thinking maybe I can make a good deal.
They're starting to spend less online and more in person.
This year has been a little bit less online than last year, just since things are opened up, so you can actually go grab some things or go actually to the place and shop a little bit more than last year.
It's a great experience. I really like to go to more places again and really feel Christmas again and not be just home with just a few people.
I also spoke to shopper Carrie, who's visiting from Florida.
Last year I did everything online, everything Amazon. This year I got out in person and I did some shopping. I like to touch and feel the things that I buy. So Amazon was a little impersonal, and I just like being out in the shops, in the stores, seeing all the decorations and the lights. It brings a lot more cheer to the season.
She says it's not always about expensive gifts and materials.
The holidays is a time to spread love and cheer, and it doesn't really matter about the gift giving, but it does make people feel good, so even a hug will go a long way.
Phil Zoe, NTD News, New York.
A Sydney, Australia testing center says it sent out incorrect PCR results, and hundreds of people told they did not have COVID-19 have now discovered they do. SidPath Laboratory is opened by St. Vincent's Hospital in Sydney. The lab said yesterday that 486 of 950 people who have received negative results have had that result overturned. SidPath says it sent out negative results by text message to 995 people tested on December 23rd and 24th. This, despite their PCR tests have not been processed yet. That number has since been revised down to 950 people. The blunder was detected by the hospital as it investigated how 400 people swabbed on December 22nd and 23rd received a negative result despite being positive for COVID-19. SidPath says the mistake came from a human error as the clinic moved from an automated system to a manual system. A sudden change to China's virus control policy sent a Shanghai-bound flight soaring back toward Seattle in midair. Let's take a look.
Delta Airlines stopped a flight to Shanghai midair and returned it back to Seattle last week. That's after the Shanghai airport suddenly changed its pandemic requirements. The Chinese regime's consulate in San Francisco has protested the airline's decision. But Delta said in a statement that the new mandates at Shanghai International Airport, quote, require significantly extended ground time and are not operationally viable for Delta. An insider told the Chinese edition of the Epoch Times that the new measures require foreign flight crews to quarantine for up to 2 weeks in China, and that Delta only learned about the new measures after takeoff. The person requested anonymity because he's not authorized by the company to speak. The incident put some of the passengers in limbo, most of whom are Chinese. Many of them are Chinese students who finished their studies in the U.S. Some of their student visas are expiring, and being stranded in Seattle may cause some visa troubles. The incident is not a single case. 2 Taiwanese airlines recently cut down the number of flights to Shanghai. One of them is suspending such flights until February. They say it's because it will take longer to comply with pandemic requirements in Shanghai. China is dealing with new virus outbreaks in the country. The regime has put in place draconian pandemic measures lately, including locking down a city of 13 million people.
Coming up, a Taiwanese potter is renowned for making rare ceramic bowls. These bowls are so thin that they can even dance with the wind. And the Lateran Apostolic Palace in Rome is now open to the public. The structure was the papal residence for almost 1,000 years before it was moved to the Vatican in the 14th century. Find out more after the break.
The worst genocide in human history also destroyed the lives of thousands of Jewish survivors still suffering today.
God calls on people who believe in Him to act on His word. Comfort my people.
When I come here and I sit with Lily, I realize what she needs right now is food. These elderly Jews are weak and they're sick. They're living on $2 a day, which is impossible. This now is how God's children are living. Take this time to send a survival food box to these forgotten Jews.
The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews urgently need your gift of $25 now to help provide one survival food box with all of the essentials they critically need for their diet for 1 month.
No vitamins and no protein, so my legs and hands are very weak. Let's make sure that we bring them just a little bit of hope by bringing them a little bit of food.
Become a part of the fellowship today by reaching out to bless these precious people of God. For just $25, you can help supply the essential foods they desperately need for 1 month. That's less than $1 a day.
For over 35 years, this trusted ministry has given Christians like me a way to tangibly bless Jewish people who are in need throughout the world.
God tells us to take care of them, to feed the hungry. And I pray Holocaust survivors will be given the basic needs that they so desperately pray for to survive.
The Lateran Apostolic Palace in Rome was the papal residence for almost 1,000 years before it was moved to the Vatican in the 14th century. Now, the luxurious private home of popes from the past is open to the public. NTD's Andrew Thomas reports.
The first organized church in Rome was actually built across the Tiber River in the 4th century by the Emperor Constantine at St. John Lateran. Today, it's the Basilica for the city of Rome. Along with its adjoining buildings, St. John was the official residence of the popes, until the papacy moved to Avignon at the start of the 1300s.
Until the 14th century, the Lateran Palace has been the residence of the popes. Then the Pope moved to Avignon in France. So this area that was already in the suburbs, once the Pope comes back to Rome, was found abandoned, a looted site, a place of decay. So the papal residence is transferred to the Vatican. Some conclaves are celebrated in the Curia of the Quirinal Palace.
Visitors can now access 10 rooms in the palace. They include the dining room, the library, the bedroom, and the private chapel.
This reopening is the answer to a request of the Holy Father. It means making accessible this beauty and letting tourists, Roman citizens, Italians, the whole world enjoy a palace that has marked some important transition periods in the history of the Church, and therefore of the history of the world and of Italy.
The building is associated with the Roman Emperor Constantine. He is credited for stopping persecutions against Christians. In a room dedicated to the emperor, an imposing fresco displays him seeing the Holy Cross appear in the sky.
History is a mother and a teacher. In history, there is a common thread of God's actions, and of course, Pope Francis connects himself strongly with his predecessors. If we consider the last century, I would say he sets up a special connection from the pontificate of Pope John the 23rd.
In the room of the pontiffs lie the Lateran Pax. Signed in 1929, the treaty aimed at recognizing Vatican City as an independent state after the Italian unification. The treaty meant the Holy See and Italy recognized each other as sovereign entities. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
The Vatican's museums and their priceless artworks are a huge draw for tourists. Every morning, the Vatican's key keeper is tasked with opening up all the doors and gates.
There are almost 3,000 keys, and the man in charge is Gianni Crea. His workday starts at the crack of dawn. At 5 a.m., Monday to Saturday, the key keeper gathers his tools, including one truly holy item. Locked in a safe, sealed inside an envelope, is the key to the Sistine Chapel. Then it's time to begin his rounds, opening up the rooms, halls, and corridors of the Vatican museums.
It is a unique emotion and incredible privilege for me and my colleagues to have the opportunity of showing this extraordinary artwork that is a part of our history to visitors from all over the world.
He walks 4 miles every day through the museums, unlocking the doors before the visitors arrive. Every year, around 6.5 million people come to see the Vatican and marvel at its treasured artworks. They will often wait in line for hours to enter. But at this early hour of the morning, only Crea is around as he approaches the most famous part of the Vatican, the Sistine Chapel. This is where cardinals gather to elect each new pope.
We have the peculiarity of keeping the key of the Sistine Chapel inside a bunker, so there is a special procedure adopted by the museum management. I have been doing this job for almost 23 years.
Today, Crea has time to take a few moments to admire Michelangelo's masterpieces, including the Last Judgment and the Ceiling, completed in 1512. It's a view he sees every day, but it never gets old. The Vatican Museums reopened to visitors on February 1st. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Ceramic works are sought after for their beauty, rarity, and thinness. One Taiwanese potter made his name by creating ceramic bowls so thin they can dance. Here's more.
This ceramic bowl has a special feature. It's one of the thinnest of its kind. Just by blowing on it, this potter makes it move. In Taiwan, the ceramist made a name for himself by creating these ceramic works that dance. For 2 decades, he's experimented with different clay formulas and manufacturing processes.
In China, they say this is eggshell ceramic, but when I made a success, they told me this is not eggshell ceramic. They said it is egg membrane ceramic, referring to the membrane inside the egg.
Huang's works were featured at the 2010 Shanghai World Expo. After that, Chinese ceramists began visiting his workshop in hopes of learning his secret formula. He says they couldn't believe their eyes when they saw the dancing ceramic bowls. Some ceramists believe Huang added plastic to the mix, a theory he immediately refuted. Plastic cannot withstand the heat of the kilns used to harden the ceramic bowls.
It's impossible that I added plastic. My formula is close to nanotechnology. Otherwise, you can't make it. I just told them that. Even ceramic specialists do not believe this can be so thin, so you can imagine how difficult it is.
The thinnest of Huang's works measures in at around 1/3 of an inch thick, but he refused a Guinness World Records title, saying he didn't want to reveal his formula. After the bowls are crafted, they're still not yet complete. Wu is a Taiwanese ceramic painter. He's been painting Huang's ceramic creations for almost 2 decades.
You have to be very serious when painting on thin ceramics. You cannot relax because this is very thin. When you paint, your moves must be very slow. You must be very gentle. You can't be casual about it. If you're casual, there will be tragedy. Speaking of this, I also broke several bowls.
One 17-inch bowl made by Huang and painted by Wu carries a price tag of around $900,000. Huang delivers his works to buyers in Taiwan and China by hand. But the pandemic has disrupted those deliveries for now.
Beside being used for jewelry, gold can also be spun into thread and sewn. In France, a small team runs a workshop that specializes in gold embroidery using techniques inherited from the Middle Ages. NTD's David Vives has more.
A handmade blue and gold owl. This unique piece is one of the many creations designed by the team at the Le Bourgogne d'Or workshop in Rochefort, France. Sylvia Deschamps is the only person in France remaining who is considered a master artist of the craft of gold embroidery.
This is called canety. This is an 80-centimeter long brilliant gold lace, a gold piece of metal.
The technique is called ornué, or shaded gold. It's a form of gold embroidery used in upholstery, where different colored silk threads are stitched over the metallic base of gold.
The work requires rigor and meticulousness. Everything is done by eye, and it must be very consistent.
Deshawn takes different commissions. Her customers are typically high-end luxury brands, museums, or organizations that preserve heritage. There are always new challenges for her team, like creating a 19th century style gold flag with Napoleon's emblems on it.
We have the front and the back, and with all these elements, the Napoleon flower crowns, these floral phrases, the imperial crown, the bees, and the eagle, so many signs to mark the First Empire. I've never seen such a detailed and complicated flag since I started my work here.
The craft of gold embroidery started at the end of the Middle Ages. Monks first used it for religious illuminations, and different techniques using gold have been passed down through the centuries.
The most complicated part of the work is to find the same materials they used, the silk, the gold. Fortunately, we work with another master artist who kept centuries-old machines and the know-how of our ancestors.
One part of the job is to dive into history. Apart from the material, Deshawn says she uses the same traditional techniques from years past. This also gives her inspiration for her original creations.
It's a bee that's been embroidered in 3 textures, the wings with gold threads, and the eyes are in brilliant gold canopy.
Deshawn has been working on gold embroidery for 32 years. She's the only craftsperson in France to have achieved the title of Master of Art in Gold Sewing. This title means she's recognized by her peers as a master of the craft and is capable of passing on the embroidery heritage to future generations, which she does to her apprentices, who in turn pass it on to people who attend their workshops. Reporting by David Vivez, NTD News.
Just ahead, 2 IT experts in Berlin create a map that shows the locations of all the city's goats so people can always find the closest goat to help them de-stress. More on that soon here on NTD News. The world's first dual-mode bus and rail vehicle will start running in the Japanese town of Kaio on Christmas Day. This type of vehicle has wheels for both modes of transportation. Let's take a look.
The vehicle resembles a minibus and runs on normal rubber tires when moving on conventional roads. When it arrives at an interchange station, it transforms. Steel wheels descend from its underbelly. The train wheels lift the front tires off the rail track, while the rear stays in contact to provide propulsion. According to a Japan Forward reporter who took a test ride, the transition is smooth and takes only 15 seconds.
Conventional vehicles can only run either on roads or railways, but this can reach the locals as a bus and carry them onto the railways as well. Especially in rural areas with an aging population, we expect it to be a very good form of public transportation.
The vehicle has been in development since 2002. It runs at a speed of 37 miles per hour on rail tracks and can go as fast as 62 miles per hour on roads. Each vehicle costs about $1.2 million to produce. The vehicle can only carry 21 people at a time.
I want Kaio Town to be the first to operate the dual-mode vehicle, so if it is successful, local transportation lines across Japan can follow suit.
Kaio is a town located in the southern Japanese prefecture of Tokushima. The area is experiencing a depopulation crisis, and the local government hopes the new vehicle can attract tourists. The vehicle will launch on a route that connects Tokushima with the adjacent Kochi prefecture.
2 IT experts in Berlin have created a map that shows the locations of all the city's goats, so people can always find the closest goat to connect and unwind.
Anna Bereskova is the co-creator of Goat Map Berlin, a map that shows where the city's goats are, and if they are free to visit or require an entrance fee. Created with Google My Maps, it also means that people can create their own goat tours throughout the German capital, taking in the city's sights between visiting goats.
We actually just wanted to share it with people, so that people become aware, because how we came up with it, it's through understanding that we don't know all the goat spots. So I live here in kind of the south of Berlin, and a friend of mine, Ola, she's in the north, and she was well aware of all the goats in the north, but she had no idea that you can come to Hudson hide and like pet, I don't know, this lovely girl.
There are currently 24 locations on the map, black for goats that are free to visit, and red for those that are in a place that requires an entrance fee. The map also shows fake goats, such as statues of the animals.
The last time I checked, our map had like 11,000 views, but I don't know like how many actually saved it and like use it daily. And we have, I don't know, like close to 600 followers on Instagram. So like not that of a broad entertainment niche, but some people.
Konstantin Kochetov develops artificial intelligence art based on goats and thoroughly enjoyed the tour.
Yeah, it was really great, like when even if the weather is bad and, whatever happens, man, you go to the goats, you feed them, you rub them, and you feel amazing. That's a good feeling.
Baraskova says some people have got in touch, saying that goats offer some stress relief on lunch breaks or after work, but it's not a money-making project. It just brings some goat happiness to a few people who need it. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Many of us feel the need to be productive all the time and can't seem to enjoy downtime. Let's get a few tips on how to work on that. Here's Gina Marie, who brings us Strong Mind and Body.
Welcome to Strong Mind and Body. I'm Gina Marie. Taking time off can be beneficial, but it can also be a little tricky. You may have to sell it to your boss or clients and get a bunch of work done before you go. But the payoff can be very worth it. Opportunities include family get-togethers, trips with family or friends, an anniversary getaway, plenty of relaxation and contemplation, and plenty of time for physical activity. Let's get a few tips and start by setting clear boundaries. A lot of times our work lives spill into our personal lives. We might be checking email or messages while spending time with family. This isn't wrong, but it doesn't allow for full enjoyment of the time off. It can help if we set an intentional boundary. A few examples include, I'm cutting off at 6 p.m. or I don't work on weekends except for 30 minutes of email in the morning. This doesn't mean you can't ever do work, but that you've entered into this time intentionally. Next up, fully embrace it. Often we will do something but not be 100% into it. We feel guilty, our mind is somewhere else, we feel we should be doing other things. Try to fully embrace the time off. Give yourself full permission to take the time off, and see if you can fully choose to embrace it and let go of the guilt. Next, slow down. Our lives are spent rushing from one task to the next, one message to the next, with little space for breathing. What would it be like if we could slow down, at least in our time off, and really let ourselves unwind? So slow down, decompress, and start to breathe. Be in the moment. Our minds will naturally start thinking about so many things we're not doing. This is why we really let ourselves have intentional space for ourselves. It's because we are stressed out about what isn't getting done. What helps is to bring my attention to something in the present moment. Take note of what the trees look like outside the window, how the air feels on your skin, what your breath and body feel like. The more you can do this, the more you can fully enjoy this time. Practice full appreciation. We're often looking for reasons to not like something, or the reasons the situation or person isn't right. What if we could fully appreciate this moment, each person, each activity just as they are? See the beauty and joy contained in every moment. See the incredible heart in every person. Many of these ideas can be challenging, but I encourage you to try them in any free time you have.
Nothing but net. This Washington, D.C. teacher went viral after she sank a full-court basketball shot and made it look easy. Kathleen Fitzpatrick, known as Miss Fitz, promised her third grade class a hot chocolate party if she made the shot. When it went in, the kids went crazy, and so did people around the world. Fitzpatrick says she's heard from people in Germany, Spain, and the United Kingdom. Fitzpatrick has been playing basketball most of her life, including in college. She says she can't wait to hear other bet ideas from her students when they return from break. Scientists have discovered dozens of rogue planets floating in the Milky Way. The astronomers spotted the Jupiter-sized planets using sensitive cameras on a number of large telescopes around the world. The planets are considered rogue because they don't have a nearby star or sun to illuminate them, but are still hot enough to glow. Researchers say there are at least 70 of them free-floating 420 light-years away from Earth, but there could be as many as 170. The scientists have not said if they think the planets could one day be habitable, but they believe there could be even more rogue planets in the galaxy, including some that are the size of Earth. You can find out more about the research in the latest edition of the journal Nature Astronomy. Thanks for watching. At NTD, we're honored to be your source for the news. Catch us again tonight at 6:30 Eastern. In New York City, I'm Kevin Hogan.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Did you know YouTube only keeps selected videos on its platform? So if you want to make sure you get the full picture, just subscribe to our newsletter. Go to newsletter.ntd.com and sign up. It's free.